I'm a Foreign Service officer with the U.S. Department of State, currently serving in Washington at headquarters here. I work in the Western Hemisphere Affairs Bureau, and I'm new media advisor for our bureau. I have a great opportunity to interact with our approximately 35 posts throughout the Western Hemisphere region, which means that I'm talking with posts in Canada, in Chile, in Argentina, in Brazil, and throughout the Americas to coordinate our public diplomacy and public affairs outreach through social media platforms. Diplomacy to me means person-to-person contacts. I think that a lot of people perceive diplomacy at kind of the 30,000-foot level, so heads of state coming together for the photo op and the handshake, a couple times a year. Actually, diplomacy is happening all the time at multiple levels, and it can be the most simple engagement. So I'm at this really interesting space in my job where we get to explore how technology, so social media, mobile, and other sort of sets of the new tools out there can help us better engage foreign publics and better identify publics with whom we haven't really been in touch with. Again, if we go back and we look at the history of diplomacy, it's usually gentlemen, right, who usually had cigarettes in their hands, and they were sending in dispatch cables from faraway places. We're in a very different space now. The face of diplomacy is a very diverse one. I'm obviously a woman sitting here and proudly having been in the Foreign Service for 8 years. We're so much more connected, not just with what's going on in the States, so that we as diplomats abroad can better represent and capture the moment that's happening in our own country, but then also with the countries in which we're serving. I most recently was in Colombia, and I saw an amazing sort of moment when all of us were able to march together with the citizens of Colombia. This was in February 2008, against the violence and against kidnapping. And a short, 6 months later, we were welcoming home our 3 hostages who had been held there for 5.5 years. That was actually Facebook that united hundreds of thousands of people throughout Colombia, Americans, Colombians, any citizens that might have been living there, to march together for the freedom of these individuals. So we've seen how social media platforms in particular can really unite us with the populations we're interacting with in a much more personal way. I've learned an amazing amount about diplomacy through my job. It takes all kinds of skills to get things done. And just like any other job in the private sector or perhaps the non-governmental sector in the States or elsewhere, you've got to stay flexible. You've got to, be willing to change your family's, geographial location and position every couple of years. We have to move pretty frequently. But I'd say that it's all worth it. The experiences that you get as a result of this kind of constant change kind of develop an incredible skill set for you and an even better ability to connect with the populations with whom you're interacting in any given country. It's really important for the American public to understand the diverse nature of diplomacy, the diverse face of diplomacy, and I'm hopeful that these kind of conversations and others that you may be watching on this channel might inspire you to go ahead and take the Foreign Service exam.